everybody. My name is Kawaii Alley and Kawaii Your Mess on TikTok, and welcome to DMJunkies, a show made by DMs for DMs to teach you your newest addiction of Dungeons and Dragons. I am here with Yeeyeeaboo, my host, and would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, yes, my name is Yeeyeeaboo. I also go by Zane more commonly because it's a lot easier to say.
All right, well, welcome to the show. Zane, how you doing tonight?
I am doing pretty good. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. So I had a quick question for you before we get started.
Okay.
How long have you actually been DMing in general?
Actually, surprisingly, I'm still in the early years. I only started learning how to play D&D back in 2016.
Okay, so
So less than 5 years technically at this point.
Okay. So I thankfully have just made it past my 5 years finally. But yeah, I completely remember my first time ever playing D&D, which was great. But alrighty, so you've been playing for a couple years at least now.
Yeah.
And for tonight's topic, we are talking about conventions and running a game for conventions.
Yes, because that is one of my favorite things to do right now. I absolutely love it.
Okay, so could you give me like a brief description of what is convention DMing? And is it like different in the way of normal, like at the table or even Discord?
Yes, it is a bit different in that you have to really break down and I don't want to say you ignore mechanics, but you have to streamline your game and how you run it because you have a lot of time restrictions and you also are a lot of time working with new players that aren't familiar with the game. They might have a general concept, but they've never actually played. So it's a matter of actually having a more streamlined and much simpler game compared to what you would normally run.
Alrighty, so we're talking about time and having a limited amount of time. How long are your sessions usually? Do you do more than one session a day? Do you do 3?
Yes, for conventions, well, it all just depends on the type of convention that I'm at. Now, I've done regular conventions like your Comic-Cons and whatnot, and I also have several gaming specific conventions that I do. For those gaming specific ones, 3 hours is the max for a campaign. But I'd only do 1 to 2 of those a year. Most of my conventions are actually focused more on the bigger, broader aspects of a convention in general. And for those, we run multiple, I say myself, my team and I, we run multiple 1-hour sessions in a day.
Wow.
Yes. I think on our next upcoming convention over the course of 2 days, I believe we're running 18 games in total over 2 days.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
The convention that's near my area doesn't even do that. We have 6 tables, and each one holds 8 players, and they play at least 2 games. They play 2 games for 2 hours, just 2 games, 2 hours a day for 4 days. And that's what it is. So, I mean, roughly it's the same time, but 18 in 2 days. Holy guacamole.
Yeah, well, the way our setup is, there's actually going to be, I have 4 people in total, including myself, and 2 of us will run, and the other 2 will be off either to make sure that all the players are getting the help that they need, because I think we usually run up to 6 people per table. So there will be 2 running games with 2 helping, and then we'll swap off back and forth every hour. So, and then we take like a 1-hour break in the middle of the day. And we just go back and forth like that to where we can pack in as many games as possible while not killing ourselves trying to run everything.
All right. And Zane, I just want to confirm these are one-shots we're talking about as well,
yes,
right?
Yes. These are generally, as a general rule, they are level 1 one-shots. I call them kind of like D&D light. As we, we figured out a very simple formula that breaks down the basics of a D&D storyline. It's go find the thing, fight the thing, protecting the thing, get the thing, bring the thing back. Okay. And once we get with that mindset of it, we boil it down the storyline to, okay, we don't even we even skip over like, okay, this man approaches you and offers you to go retrieve this item. We skip over that, put the team all together, and we usually put them within just a a little bit of travel time before the object of their mission. So that, like, if they're going to go to this fortress and retrieve this cursed diamond, we're going to put them usually just a little ways from the fortress, and we're already going to have everything set up for their couple little combat encounters and a puzzle, and then the reward, and then we do a wrap-up narration.
Okay, so from what I'm getting and stuff, you basically do what I like to call the 2-1-2 rule, which is you put them in the action, you give them a little bit of that story and a little bit more of action, but then you end it with action as well.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, because that's how I personally run my one-shots, and I know there's a lot of really cool YouTube videos for tips for people that struggle making that.
Yeah.
I won't have any in the description. You can easily find them just by Googling or whatever. But going back on to focus and getting back on track, I have a couple of questions. Some of them we talked about beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are actually the ones we were talking about beforehand. But how does one simply get access to run games for conventions? Because being someone like me, I kind of want to try to do it, but I've seen so many cases where people are like, I'm not able to because I don't know how. So how do people
for me, the way that I did it was pretty simple. It all started with when our local game store shut down and we weren't able to run through that store anymore. I was the one that was basically making the schedule. I wasn't per se hired or in the employ of the store, but I would help organize the schedules and run the big events they wanted to do, make sure the players had tables and whatnot. When that ended, the store owner told me about how he was still going to be trying to go through conventions to set up booths for his product. I started looking into all these local conventions we had, and I had no clue that there was so many just locally owned conventions running in my area. So what I started doing was I got on Facebook Messenger or their email contact that they would put in their websites and said, hey, this is my group. What we do is we run D&D and we run tabletop games in general. We'd love to be a part of your show and be an option of entertainment for your patrons if you would like to have us. Well, one of them decided, hey, yeah, we'll take you on. Come in and see. They brought us in. They let us in. They show for free. And from there, what you'll notice with a lot of locally run conventions is that there are other people have their own show that they want to promote. So they'll buy a booth at this other convention to promote their stuff. And it just became a matter of networking at that point, go into these different people and saying, hey, you got a convention. This is what my team does, and we'd like to join you. And now I went from running at 3 conventions last year, I believe, to I'll be doing 6 or 7 in total this year.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So I guess going on through, I'm just going to go through the questions that we talked about earlier, but also I'll have some more also. But I guess what are the basic things you need for running conventions? Because I know some people are like, oh, you need minifigures, you need extra dice, you need pre-made character sheets. But
well, yes, those are very important. One that I would actually not so much worry about that, but this is just me. It's more of a matter of preference. Is the minis, because they're hard to keep track of at a convention. I've lost a few that way. But yes, you definitely need to have the dice and the pre-made characters, because there's not a whole lot of people that are going to come to a convention with a pre-made character thinking, all right, I'm going to play D&D today. Because what I've noticed a lot of times, we get people that come into the show, they see us and like, oh wow, I didn't know y'all were doing D&D. Let me join in. But I don't have my character sheet, and we're like, we got you. You need you definitely need to know. You need to be able and ready to walk around. So, because sometimes you're not always going to get all the players you think you're going to get. So you got to have the mindset of, okay, I'm going to go walk around and talk to people and invite them to these games. But beyond that, yes, it's pretty much actually the basics of what you would need for a regular game. Bring plenty of dice, bring the character sheets. If you want to do the minis, that's fine. That's up to you. I personally don't do, but then again, I also don't use minis in my games, even my regular games that I run, like at a friend's house or at my house.
That's amazing. I find it really, really cool that you are able to have that stuff go out through. And again, not to worry about minifigures, especially with someone that's DM on a budget, which that episode will be coming out soon.
Yeah.
It's very, very helpful for me to know and to understand when it comes to it. So I'm learning a lot this episode, and I'm pretty excited about that. So
Yeah.
I guess what for a DM to expect, what is the etiquette that you kind of see with players, especially with new players that come to like the D&D table? Because I have like the way how I learned some of the games out there for tabletop, it was mainly like I go to a convention, I try to sign up for it, and I learn as I go. And I have seen a lot of rude DMs in a way, kind of like the dick DM
Yes,
type
that I
of thing.
completely understand.
Yeah.
Um,
So
now,
I guess what is some like etiquette?
as far as for the dungeon master, the etiquette is understand that you're going into a situation where you're running very likely for people who have never played before. That's most of the players that I've gotten at these shows have never tried D&D in their life or any of the other games that we run because we actually run multiple different systems. You have to be ready to help teach. That's why I do this, because I love teaching people how to play D&D and tabletop games in general. For that etiquette, just be ready and open to teaching them, because that's to me, that's one of the most rewarding things about playing tabletop games is helping someone else learn about this awesome experience that is tabletop gaming. For the players, the etiquette, it can vary because in a lot of cases I understand, because you're okay, I found this cool thing that I want to learn. Now I'm at a table with 6 random strangers that I've never met, and some guy is up here telling me what to do and what kind of dice to run. They're gonna be confused. They're gonna be a little shy. It happens. Just be ready to help them learn.
Alrighty. Yeah, excuse me. I still have a cough going on. But yeah, that's really, really good. I remember being that confused player, being like,
Yeah.
which one do I roll? And like, it might have been like the 19th, 20th, maybe 23rd time they would tell me, you need to roll the D20.
Yes. And one of the reasons that I love teaching and that I'm patient about it is the fact that the person that I learned D&D from was a dick. He didn't want to
Oh.
play D&D. He wrote a trilogy of books and he wanted us to play out the story. And it's like,
Oh,
I,
I
so
hate
I
railroaders.
yes, that's what it was. And so I'm sitting here like, this game is awesome. The way I'm learning it sucks. And that was what pushed me to the point of where it's like, you know what? If I want to play this game and I want others to learn how to play it in a way that is fun for them. And that's a lot of the motivational point that's gotten me to this point of where I'm at doing these shows doing these conventions and teaching people at these shows.
Yeah. So, speaking of show, if you guys are enjoying this episode of DM Junkies, please make sure you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to keep everything in the loop so then you know when the next Adventures in Initiative is for Isles and L, for Ravnica, or even for DM Junkies, or sometimes one shots. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Anyway, back to the episode. So, Zane, your name's Zane, right?
Yes, that is it.
Alrighty. I wanted to make sure because I hate messing up people's names.
You're good.
What are what special arrangements are needed to make a game of D&D more accessible? I can't talk today at a convention.
Well, that kind of goes back to the matter of timing on how
Okay.
long your show is, because when we did our first convention, we had no time awareness on our games, and we were running 3 and 4 hour sessions at a convention that was 2 days long with 8 hours a day. You have to keep in mind that your players, yes, they're at this convention playing this game with you, but they're also there for the convention as a whole. They are there to go to panels, to meet some of the guests, to see the vendors. That's why I emphasized this structure of 1 hour sessions. So you have to be ready to accommodate the players, because while yes, that they are in your game, they're also the reason that you're able to do this show. So you have to help them out also and make sure that they have something that is not only accessible and fun, but also leaves them time to experience the bigger picture of the convention in general.
Yeah. So I guess that leads into my next question, especially since you do a lot of games and you're doing a lot of 1 hour games. Do you tend to make your own stories, or do you sometimes try to pick to one story that you found on like something like DM's Guild or in a book?
It depends, because like I said, with the way that we've boiled down the game, I don't want to say we don't have a story, which that's kind of accurate, but at the same time, we do have a sort of storyline going on with them.
Mm.
But in keeping in building, we do a lot of the stuff ourselves, especially with the D&D stuff, because there's actually surprisingly there's a lack of quick game material like that that's ready made. So we write out a lot of our own little one shots for that. Now, some of the other games that we run, like Call of Cthulhu and Kids on Bikes and stuff like that, there's plenty of pre-made material that we can use. That's just easy to pick up, and I think I have probably 7 or 8 different Call of Cthulhu 1-hour one shots already memorized that I could just run at any given time.
Well, that's really, really cool. I could never, ever in my mind memorize a one shot.
Oh,
that's just not like my personality and stuff.
Oh, that I understand, but yeah, I'm just thinking like even now, just now, I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, I could run. I'm thinking, listing off in my head all these different Call of Cthulhu games that I could just boom, 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 run.
I love Call of Cthulhu. For those of you that don't know, I am a huge fan of Call of Cthulhu, and I am also a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons. Those are my 2 favorite games. Pathfinder, but yeah, my least favorite is Starforge. So
yeah, the only one that I couldn't get into that I've tried, of the ones I've tried, has definitely been Pathfinder. I don't know what it is about it, but I've tried and just no.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny because Pathfinder for me was the introduction to tabletop games.
Okay, gotcha.
So for me, that's how I learned. I don't usually play it. Sometimes I'll play it here and there, but I love horror and I love fantasy. So
yes.
Why not have D&D and Call of Cthulhu?
Yes, and that's why I run, because Call of Cthulhu is actually my preference over D&D personally. Because I like the emphasis on role play and higher risks when it comes to Call of Cthulhu. That's kind of become my favorite, and I personally find that the basic role play system used for Call of Cthulhu is much easier to learn than Dungeons and Dragons. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, they also teach you like percentage dice and things like that. The good news about this show too is that it's not just solely set on Dungeons and Dragons. It's set on tabletop as a whole. So
yeah,
if you have a favorite system, then go for it. Ramble about it.
Oh yeah, that's my thing. But with that, there is actually, and I can't remember who I was talking to about this just the other day. There's actually a new expansion out from the man that created Call of Cthulhu, and it's called Cthulhu Mythos, and it brings in creatures and magic and race options into 5e from Call of Cthulhu, and from the Cthulhu Mythos in general.
Alrighty, so we are actually going to be starting to finish up. So, do you have any questions for me before we do sign-offs?
I do not, unfortunately. I tried to think of something, and I didn't really have anything.
Hey, it's perfectly okay. The best tip I have ever been given for like doing podcasts and stuff: let your guests do most of the talking.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I hope you completely enjoyed your visit, and I would love to talk to you again, having like more talks about conventions and stuff, because I'm fascinated with it completely. Yeah. So I think what you're doing is really, really cool, and that you should totally keep up with it. And if you have any socials, where can people find you?
All right, I can be found on TikTok and Instagram as Yeeyeeaboo. That's about the only 2 that I keep up with. I tried Twitter one time, and it confused me and scared me, and I ran away from it screaming. And if you ever want to participate in any of our shows, my group and I are located. We run most of our stuff around the Central Arkansas area. Our next convention coming up is going to be called Not Just Another Comic-Con, and it'll be in Little Rock, Arkansas, the last weekend of March. I can't remember the exact dates. I believe it's the 28th and the 29th.
That is Awesome. And with that, I want to just tell our viewers that this has been DM Junkies with me as your host, Kawaii Ali. You can find me on TikTok as Kawaii RMS. And this has been a wonderful night. Thank you so much, Yeeyeeaboo. And don't forget, guys, to just roll it.